Good evening, everyone. My name is Arusta. My co-commentator today is Antisim, and we're here for some Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 2 playoffs. What do you know about these two runners today, Antisim?
I know they're really good at this game, and they'll probably finish this all dungeon seed real quick.
Yeah, this is Game 4 between these two teams. As you can see by the Triforce logos just at the bottom, the Phendrana Drifters, represented by Megawatt, are currently up 2-1 on the Titansmiths, represented by Daaanty. This is a best of 5, so if the Drifters win today, they will be moving on to the next round.
Yeah, and we're going to have an interesting twist today where all the swords will be vanilla. This is the first race I've seen with that setting in place that was just recently put into updated. And off we go. We got a split start with 10 arrows at both Link's house and the Sanctuary. Oh, and we've got pendants on every single Light World dungeon. Just a little shuffled. I think Desert was the green pendant there?
Yeah, Desert was the green pendant, which is interesting because that means that, of course, all the Dark World dungeons are crystals. It is worth noting, since it's all dungeons, you have to do them anyways, but that does mean Moon Pearl on Pet is in play.
It would be if it weren't vanilla swords. Yeah, so guaranteed progressive sword on the pedestal today. And that was a rod. Ice rod, I believe, on Lumberjack. So maybe an oops all dungeons today, on top of the fact that it's all dungeons.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they route that ice rod in, or that rod in, because we do need it for Trinex, of course, and potentially for Skull Woods, depending on which rod it is. But it's also not particularly easy to get to until you have boots and you have to do all of Aga 1 for it.
And if it is Ice Rod, we won't need it really for anything other than Trinex, so we can put that off for a pretty long time.
Yeah, meanwhile, Daaanty gonna make the back of escape play here. Wouldn't be surprised to see Megawatt make a similar play soon as well, because they do know we'll have a weapon here in just a sec from Uncle.
Yeah, makes sense. There's a lamp. That's nice. No more darkroom traversal. You can get to Dark Cross much faster now. You don't have to worry about echolocating yourself through that area.
Yeah, and it is worth noting, with a key, it is possible that they could go all the way through. If you find bombs somewhere, you could go all the way through escape like you do in vanilla.
Yeah, that they could. Well, there's your bombs. And Daaanty is going to take that Death Warp and head back there, I believe.
Yeah, meanwhile, it looks like Megawatt is farming for bombs, which makes a lot of sense from their perspective, but unfortunately we know it's just a waste of time, since we'll get those 3 bombs from the cell.
Yep. Alright, and back of escape today, back of escape, Dark Cross. It's just the map. And Daaanty is going to continue and go to the back of escape. This is a pretty good play, because you don't know when you're going to find the glove, and you're already here, so it's not too long of a trip.
Yeah, especially if something's here. If you end up having to put it off for a while waiting on glove, that could really put you behind.
Yeah, that's true. Alright, back of escape, 3 items, piece of heart, the flippers, and the moon pearl. So, a very good play. And
Yeah.
Megawatt's gonna go straight there as well.
Yeah, though we'll see. Hopefully, for Megawatt's sake, hopefully plays it out all the way. Its death warp might be just to go to Dark Cross. Sometimes people will do that, then just save and quit out.
That's very true. And Daaanty's not going to go check Lumberjack just yet. Can't blame him. A lot of runners wait till boost before even checking that area, so...
Yeah, and it is worth noting at this point, it's not super hurtful.
Nah, that's really not.
That rod does open up stuff once you get to the Dark World, but they're quite a ways from needing that.
And they already have a fire source, if it is the fire rod up there, in the lamp.
So Blind has been stealing a lot of hearts today. Meanwhile, Megawatt going straight south to check the dam and then see where he goes from here. With only 2 bombs, can play this all the way out to Ice Rod Cave if he wants through Mini Moldorm. See if, and then come back and pay off the flippers, perhaps.
That's true, yes. Alright. And Daaanty getting bailed out with some bombs in the well. Was down to 0 there. And some nice money sitting outside the dam, so Zora's a bit closer to get to now. And just some health in the chicken hut. So far, Kakariko been fairly uneventful. Oh, hookshot though in Mini Moldorm Cave. That's nice. And the bow. Wow. Mini Moldorm Cave had the value today.
Yeah, meanwhile, Daaanty still has not gotten anything of real value from Kakariko here.
No. I wouldn't blame Daaanty if they went straight for the race game, because normally when I don't get anything in Kakariko, that's exactly what I do. But no, they're gonna go ahead and check it. And rightfully so, because it's just a 10 bomb pack.
Yeah, so it definitely looks like the South Shore checks were the play. We'll see what's here on Ice Rod Cave.
Though, even though Daaanty did do all of Kakariko and there wasn't anything there, it's not really going to cost time, because Kakariko is a check that every single runner is going to do. Later on, or sooner or later, they're going to do it. So it's not really wasting time or anything. And looks like Megawott is going to go do the flippers checks. Hopefully we'll get some money before Zora, because otherwise it's going to orphan that location for a little bit. Piece of heart and 20 rupees, so nothing in the waterfall.
Yeah, and as chat's pointing out, Megawatt did skip Hobo, and I believe also did not go through the Hylia Island.
I think because Megawatt knew that they didn't have enough money yet, they were just going to check these 3 checks and then go back for that. Which looks like what they're doing. Because it would be faster this way since there's not 500 rupees on the board. And Lake Hylia is just 20 rupees. And Daaanty picks up that bow and hook shot.
Oh, and the stun prize is fairies. I mean, these are both top tier runners, so it may not come into play a lot, but that's always something that's nice to know.
True, and we find a mirror, so that's already access to our 2 pendants that can be fully completed now. So chat was saying earlier that we might have a situation where we need to get that Master Sword off of the pedestal to get to Aga for our Dark World access. I could see that being a thing, honestly. Because we're just a book away from that happening. Book and a glove. Oh yes, need a glove or a flute to get up there. Forgotten.
Yeah, meanwhile, it looks like Megawatt's going to make these Kakariko plays and probably won't be super happy with finding nothing whatsoever.
So Eastern's got to be the play, right? Since nothing was in Kakariko. And can't really go anywhere else other than Agina. Gotta be Eastern, right? Gotta.
Yeah, I mean, especially since this is all dungeons, you can full clear Eastern, so, you know, even if it ends up being that there's not a whole lot there, it's not like you're going to lose a ton of time because you have to do it anyways. But at this point, we've got Sahasrarla's hut, Eastern, and then 1 item off on Agina's cave. And also, logically, even though neither of them have had the money, Zora, the seed always assumes you can find rupees somewhere, so Zora itself is still could have something.
That's true. The seed's gonna assume that you're gonna farm up money for it, so.
So as Megawatt just shows us some more useless CAC checks, just a real quick update for those of you who joined late. This is the Link to the Past Randomizer League, Week 2 of the playoffs. This is a win-or-go-home match for the Titans Mitts, represented by Daaanty, against the Phendrana Drifters, represented by Megawatt, who currently have a 2-1 lead in the series. My name is Arusta. My co-commentator is Antisim. Also, shout-outs to our tracker, Star14681.
Alright, now we're getting some new checks over here with Sahashlow's Closet, which has... Bombos is nice, I guess? We don't know if we'll need it yet or not. And Megawatt's also going to head over to Eastern Palace now. So what do you think we're going to find here? Are we going to find the cave, or what's our progression going to be our next?
I'm thinking we're going to find Book. Drive him over to desert.
Ooh, sounds spicy. Sounds good to me. Having that early hookshot is nice because you can just hookshot over to this chest as well on the right side of Eastern Palace.
Yeah, and also just in case anyone's not aware of it, the settings for this are all dungeons with vanilla swords. So we know there's a sword on pedestal, we know there's one on the Smith Chain, we know there's one in Pyramid Ferry, but they will have to complete all dungeons. And Megawatt knows, though Daaanty does not, that there is a rod on Lumberjack Cave for Aga 1.
Unfortunately, it's not like vanilla where you can just go get the Smith and get Tempered Sword. They are still progressive since it's rando, but still, it's nice to know where they are. And we did find a cake, so there's... and a shield. That is all 3 items here in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, though it is worth noting, since it is all dungeons and you have to clear this eventually, Daaanty, and I'm sure Megawatt as well, will go ahead and play this out to defeat Armos, just so you never have to walk back in here.
Absolutely. And Megawatt's going to go ahead and skip that final chest. It's going to gain back a bit of time there. We know it's not really going to hurt him because it's just a shield over there, but that's going to be one of those checks that he's probably not going to get back to, ever. And Megawatt setting up for the top right kill, as is Daaanty. And just like that, both fights are over for our first dungeon completion of the game.
So at this point, our checks are basically Zora money, even though neither of them has the money, Aga, or the one check on Agina.
Yeah, I'd go Aga here. Agina's a really long walk, and Zora's a really long farm to get the money, so Aga.
Yeah, definitely, especially since this is all dungeons, and Aga 1 is included in all dungeons, even outside of the fact there's a rod up there that they'll need. So, this is a play that you'd have to do at some point anyways.
Yeah, it is nice in all dungeons to do Aga 1 last, right before Ganon, because you get that nice heart refill. But when the seed requires you to do it anyways, you just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, especially since it is worth noting that, simultaneous bombo strats. Always nice to see.
It's much easier than killing these gold shards with Fighter Sword, because they're equipped with less than vanilla equipment here.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is when they actually get into the Dark World here, since they already have Moon Pearl, you can go and check a decent number of chests in Pod here.
That's true, they can. And with the hookshot, they can also go over to the left side of the Dark World. And both are absolutely just blazing through this mini gauntlet here, mini castle tower gauntlet. And that stun prize knowledge for Daaanty's coming in to help, because you can just stun the enemy and get a fairy for your refill. And Megawott is the favorable RNG on that red guard. Daaanty does not, unfortunately. So, how many blue balls do you think we'll have for Aghanim 1 here?
I'm going to say 3.
Sticking to the average, eh? I'm going to agree with you on that. And just for chat's information, the first Aghanim fight will always be seeded, so both runners will have the exact same number of blue balls. That's already 2.
Yeah, and it is worth noting the first Aga fight here is seeded. However, if you die and walk back up, I believe you get a different seed.
Yep, you do. And that is dependent on your game. It's if Megawott gets a different seed and all that stuff, so it's not the same. I believe that was 4 blue balls, but I'm not 100% sure. 3? Alright, 3. Thanks for our lovely tracker correcting me.
So we got it right.
That we did. And just bombs on Pyramid Ledge.
to answer a question in chat, the seed has been quite linear thus far. The only difference right now that Megawatt's a few steps ahead was that Megawatt skipped the vanilla big key chest in Eastern, which was just a shield.
Yep. So Megawatt did also go check Lumberjack Ledge, where Daaanty has not. But we do have our first really big divergence in this match, where Megawatt's actually going over to Eastern or Western Dark World, and Daanty's staying over here on the pod side. Yeah, the seed really funneled them into Aga. Alright, we have a Dark World check, and I saw Misery Mire was one of the red crystals. I didn't see the other one. We'll have to confirm when Megawatt decides, or Daaanty decides to check. Alright, and we do have a bow-locked pod today. And we have a flute. Wait, why? Megawatt, what are you doing? That was a flute, right?
Doesn't have a glove.
Oh, you're right. Need a glove. I'm just so used to having a glove when you get to Dark World.
Yeah, it definitely throws everything off. Meanwhile, I don't think Daaanty has found anything yet of value in pod here. Looks like just an extra shield.
Yeah, nothing so far. But then again, the front of pod is also almost always loaded with just keys, so once we get to the back, there'll be a lot more info, a lot more.
Yeah, especially since that was a map as well, so found both non-keys in the front of pod.
And
there is a glove.
Yep.
That is going to work out pretty well for Daaanty, because it does mean afterwards, if he decides to make the play to West Dark World, we'll be able to pick up the flute on the way.
Yeah, and then she can just mirror from the Dark Village and activate it. Nice damage boost strat, and we get a Bugnet from Skullwood, so just a heart and Bugnet, so nothing really here.
Meanwhile, the second glove was also in pod. Titan's Mitts now has mitts.
There we go, so pod did have the value in the back today.
And that is really going to help out the Titan's Mitts, represented by Daaanty, because not only does that mean he can get the flute, it might be kind of a while before Megawatt gets over there. It looks like probably going to finish up all the West Dark World checks first.
Yep. May even decide to clear out Thieves Town before going over there, even without that hammer. So just the gloves, which isn't just a thing, but in pop. And chess game just having a bit of money for us.
Yeah, though it is worth noting that Daaanty had mirrored there, so we'll see if he works in the bumper cave check here.
No, I think this is Death Mountain play, because you got Hera, you've got Dark Death Mountain, you've got a lot of stuff over here.
Yeah, though it is something that if you're coming from the Dark World and you're not just walking west like Megawatt did, getting to Bumper Cave is not super easy. It's kind of off in its own little area.
That is true. Yeah, I see a lot of runners pair it with Skull Woods, but not everybody does, so. Alright, and let's see if Megawatt decides to nope out after first floor of Thieves Town. Nope, is going to continue on. And it's going to approach these East Death Mountain checks through the Dark World, leaving that convenient mirror portal. And there's Boots! So that was a very nice check.
Yeah, and a pre-filled blue potion bottle, which it is worth noting, nobody has checked Sick Kid because that's the first bottle we've seen in the entire seed.
And we get 50 rupees, 20 rupees, piece of hearts, convenient heart refill though, 10 arrows, and 50 more rupees.
Meanwhile, I don't think Megawatt has found anything whatsoever thus far in Thieves.
No, yeah, there really hasn't been anything. But luckily also hasn't found that big chest key just yet.
And it is worth noting, this is one of those other things that can really throw you off, is if you don't have glove, you have to do this the long way.
Yep, and we have the hammer sitting in Paradox. No, that's Super Bunny. And Quake, which don't know if that's going to be useful yet. And we do have Bombos for Torok today, so that Bombos is required. And there's that small key. Uh-oh. We may be leaving behind an item in Thieves Town here. Hookshot Cave has a blue cane and the red cane. So, a lot of value in East Death Mountain and Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, and did notice when Megawatt opened the menu, still missing. Well, there's the compass, so yes, there is still one item in the hammerlock chest.
Of course. Hopefully for Daanty's sake, or hopefully for Megawatt's sake, there's nothing important in there. And we are going to see a hero pot from Daaanty here. Gets it first try. No problem.
Yeah, though it is worth noting if you're rooting for the Drifters or Megawatt here, at this point, starting to run low on locations, so we'll almost certainly go to pod pretty quickly after finishing up just these southern checks here.
Absolutely. So, could opt to check the first chest of swamp, but that's really unlikely. And just a piece of heart on dig game. As Daaanty finishes off the second dungeon of the seed for them, and as Megawatt got their second dungeon a little while ago for Steve's Down.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that, in case you weren't counting items, the Hera basement had nothing, so nice use of the bomb to avoid accidentally mirroring.
So, at this point, what are we really looking for? Another rock, and maybe ether? What else is there?
Yeah, another rod, maybe ether. And then on Daanty's side, he does not yet know about that flute.
That's true, that's true. Daaanty starting up on the mountain. Maybe Spike Cave?
Yeah, maybe doing Spike Cave and then also just checking Spectacle Rock Cave here as well.
True. Got our second potion in the back of Hype Cave, which had really nothing of hype.
Yeah, so what's interesting in this seed is that basically Kakariko and the Village of Outcast, both of which are very dense locations, both had basically nothing.
Oh no, Megawatt. I wasn't being serious. I wasn't being serious about the first chest of swamp. Really? Of course, if this turns out to be the other rod, that would be amazing as well. Amazing for them, but unfortunately, we'll get hammerlocked real quick here.
So Daaanty starting at Sanctuary, almost certainly going to go check Bonk Rocks and probably Lumberjack after that, so we might be able to finally find out what that rod is.
Yes. And first chest of swamp is just 300 rupees. Well, there's ether, so we're just looking for the other rod. What a seed. And Megawatt's coming over here to the desert area. Gonna check Agina, probably. There's our third bottle of this seed. So far, every single bottle we've had has been filled with a different color potion. Blue, first then green, now red. Yeah, and Daaanty going to go pick up that rod. Gonna be pleasantly surprised by it. It is the ice rod, so we're just looking for that fire rod now.
Yeah, and at this point, Megawatt really just needs to make the play over to Pod, because that is pretty much hard locking almost everything else he has available.
It looks like that's what it's going to be. Unless he somehow decides to route this up to Catfish instead. Nah, alright, good. Alright, Daanty's gonna find out that Skull Woods has had nothing in it now. We'll be able to do it slightly quicker with those boots, though.
Yeah, so the real question is, does Daaanty decide to go east after this and check Bumper Ledge and the Graveyard Ledge?
Yeah, I don't see why not. It seems like the easiest place to route it at the moment, the easiest way. Because if you go south after Skull Woods, and Daanty's gonna leave, not even gonna go worry about getting that bug net. Not that they know it's a bug net, though. And he's gonna get that flute. Doing a little bit of a double take there. Wait, do I have to go there? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go there. And Daaanty gets that flute. So Daaanty is now just a fire rod away from go mode.
Yeah, it looks like probably going to head over and do the rest of the Dark Cack Village of Outcast checks here soon as well. Would almost certainly pick up his second sword there as well, since we do know that is on Spike Cave. Or not Spike Cave, Smith Chain. Smith Chain.
Smith Chain, yep. And honestly, it wouldn't even be that hard to get that third sword on the ped today, because all the pendants we can't complete, and Daaanty actually already has 2 of them.
Yeah, and you can't get to the back of Skull Woods right now without Fire Rod. So if you want that third sword, maybe you wait until you can do Moth and you just route it in very quickly with Mirror.
Exactly, yeah. And Megawatt picks up their mitts. probably the first thing Megawatt's gonna do after getting those mitts is grab that flute, I believe, and pair that in picking up the ice rod. Wait, never mind. Has to go up Death Mountain before getting the boots first.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that when Megawatt showed us all the useless Village of Outcast checks, we know it's the first part of the Smith chain is the sword, but we of course don't know what Purple Chest is. We also did not get to see hammer pegs.
That's true, because Megawatt could not access that part of the world just yet.
Yeah, so I would, given that there's at least another check over there, I'd be kind of surprised if afterwards Daaanty doesn't do at least the first part of the Smith chain for the sword, and then also route in hammer pegs as part of that as well.
Alright, let's see where Megawatt goes now that the world is just opened up to him by quite a bit. Is gonna stay in the Dark World, so this might be like a Catfish to Bumper Cave or Catfish to Zora, because that's areas that they haven't checked yet.
I mean, if you're doing Catfish, you almost certainly would at least mirror over and check Zora, I would imagine. But then from there, does know about Bumper Ledge, so going to probably pick up that soon as well.
Nah, just going straight to Bumper Ledge.
Yeah, and to answer a question in chat, boots are in Paradox Cave. Daaanty went through pod for both gloves very early, went straight up to Death Mountain, got the boots, and then also completed Hera on the way. And I believe also got Quake up there.
Yes. Okay, Quake was in Dark Death Mountain, though, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, and then there was also a red cane up there.
So Death Mountain was absolutely loaded. And we'll also get to see this big chest of thieves down from Daaanty.
Yeah, which we do know is an item, but unfortunately Megawatt came here without the hammer and was not able to check it.
Alright, let's see what it is. Blue mail. A nice safety, but not absolutely needed. Alright, Megawatt's activating that flute now. And very nice blind script as blind goes down. And unfortunately Sick Kid was just 20 rupees today, so that's not our fire rod.
Yeah, and it looks like Megawatt's going to go up here and do all these Death Mountain checks and get all sorts of items for it.
Yeah, gonna get a lot of value. So if you're Daaanty, after doing the Smith chain, do you go into Swamp or do you go to Misery Mire Desert Palette?
I might do the Misery Mire Death Palace Misery Mire play, though it is worth noting that presumably Daaanty will play out this at least a hype cave. So if you really wanted to do Swamp, even though it can be kind of slow, it's right in your path.
Very true.
And even though, well, nothing on Dig Game, even though Swamp does seem slow, you are getting, if you play it out, combine it with Hype Cave, you're getting 11 items there with those two combined. As opposed to if you go to Mire, you get the 2 from the Shed, the 1 from Checkerboard Cave, and then only 2 from Mire. So you are getting at least a bunch of items from doing Swamp before Mire.
That's also true. So really, the value at least outweighs in one location, but we'll have to see. And looks like Daaanty is going to go activate that flute first. And Megawatt is also setting up Parapot here. This isn't a setup I've seen. I've seen the Boots one and I've seen the Bomb one that's a little bit south of that, but not seen this. But gets it pretty quickly as well. Alright, we're gonna get some new checks over here in Smith, Hammer, Pegs, and give you a Master Sword on Smiths. Just 3 bombs in Peg Cave, so not gonna pick that up. And Megawatt's gonna have a little bit slower Moldorm here because decided to come here first before going to Dark Death Mountain and East Death Mountain. So we'll have to deal with Rage Phase, but gets him down real quick here. And Master Sword on Daanty's side. But
Yeah.
with Vanilla, we knew that was...
Yeah, absolutely. And picking up the purple chest here, which is a good call if you're going to go south, because when you do the south loop, it's very easy to route it in as part of it.
Absolutely. And after checking Stumpy and K45, you can also just leave it behind and go mirror in front of the guy and get the item anyways. And Daanty's just going to leave behind that purple chest. It is a neat little glitch, honestly. And Megawatt picks up those boots. Just mirror in front of this dude and boom, you get the item. Piece of heart though today. And it's gonna flute away, so isn't gonna go do Swamp and Hype Cave. Is gonna go for the Desert Palace Misery Mire area first.
Yeah, those are 2 completable dungeons for him. So that does make sense from that aspect as well.
Plus, doing Desert Palace unlocks the 3rd sword, so. As Megawott gets that hammer and Quake.
Yeah, and to clarify, I think Daaanty intentionally dropped off before entering, fluted, then ran north just to check the desert ledge before fluting again. Because that's the most efficient way to check that ledge and find out what's there.
Yeah, you don't want to have to dash down and have to just waste time and just not. And we are not boots locking Desert Palace today, which is a little unfortunate when you already have the boots.
It does look like Megawott will be making that swamp play, though. So we'll see which was the right call here.
Yeah, that we will. Yeah, did come in here earlier, so maybe feeling like they gotta make this play again. And Daanty's going for Ice Rod strats on Land Mow. Gets 2 of them down and is just out of magic there. And just 20 rupees, but does get that green pendant. So do you grab Tempered? I probably wouldn't. I'd wait till Skull Woods and having the Fire Rod, but I don't know.
I wouldn't go all the way over there just for that, because at this point, all you would be going for is exclusively for Tempered, because Daaanty especially has already cleared everything remotely in that area.
Yeah, I agree, yep.
I mean, I do think you definitely get it when you do Skull Woods, because if nothing else, it makes your Ganon fight and your climb, even your Ganon's tower climb, faster. So it makes up for it, but I don't think you run over just for that.
Yeah, it does make Moth quicker as well, so Fair Break before you go do Moth is probably for the best. And Megawatt is going to set up for Diver Down here on the in the back swamp at least first. Gets that big key and 20 rupees. Gets a compass, so there's at least one item on that left side of swamp.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that Megawatt does not yet know that Ether is required, so from his perspective, he's looking for between 1 and 2 items. He knows he needs another rod and potentially a medallion.
Yep, though I don't see how he's not going to get that Ether because with the boost checks, and he does know where that ice rod is, so. And Daaanty's going to go ahead and clear out Meyer first because did get that big key. May choose to come back in afterward.
Yeah, and I definitely like the decision here from both runners to skip the long and annoying checks and do the boss first, especially given that both of them are really only looking for 1 or 2 items.
Absolutely. And nice hammer strats on the big eye of Arius there. As Megawatt does finish off Swamp, we'll see if he decides to go back in or just leave it for later. Pulling out that mirror, so just gonna leave left side Swamp to its own device. Meanwhile, Daaanty's gonna do some cape strats on Bitch. And Megawatt's coming over to the mire, gonna get that information that Ether is required. And then don't know where they're gonna go after Desert.
Very nice biddy kill there by Daaanty.
Yep, just a small key though, so we're still looking for 2 items in mire. It's a very quick mire too, using sword beam strats. That room, when it's done right, is just so satisfying. And compass, so the wait for items in Misery Mire continues. Alright, let's see what this vanilla big key chest has for us. There's the fire rod. We're in go mode.
Yup, at 1 hour and 4 minutes and about 50 seconds, Daaanty is in go mode. At this point, even in terms of safeties, the only thing he's likely to do is the third sword off of Mothula, or off of the pedestal right before Mothula.
And that's exactly where he's going right now. So Daaanty will also pick up some time on Megawatt for Swamp there, because Megawatt was still looking for items. Well, Daaanty will just get to go mode it. And Megawatt going for NMG strats on Land Moas, because doesn't have that fire rod just yet. Interesting, Daaanty's gonna go ahead opt to finish off Mothula before picking up that flash sword. I mean, it's probably faster because then you only have one mirror rather than two, but I would have just preferred to have that third sword before Mothula. So for chat, for Icebreaker, you do have to hit this switch if you want to be able to go mode Ice Palace for with Icebreaker. And Daaanty showcasing why he doesn't need that third sword with a very good moth kill.
Yeah, at this point you will not see Daaanty open any other chests except for picking up the third sword here, because even at this point, and even in terms of safeties, there's nothing really that he could possibly find, because he already knows where the third mail is, you know where the fourth sword is, so silvers is the only silvers and half magic are the only things that evens out there.
Yep. So the really only checks that we'll be making are in Turtle Rock for that big key, and some swamp. As Daaanty pulls that ped for that tempered sword. Is gonna stop by for some safeties. Yeah, it's very convenient this seed. We haven't had a single fetch quest. No mushroom, no powder, no shovel, no book even. And Megawatt, unfortunately, is going into Ice Palace. I mean, it's not a bad move. I've seen the Fire Rod be locked behind Bombos and Ice Palace a decent amount of times. It's just unfortunately not the right one for this seed.
Yeah, especially since at this point, having already cleared, basically, he has no way to get to Fire Rod without doing the King's Tomb, and unfortunately, even though you can get there in the light world, he's done basically all the other checks in that area, so he would be saving, quitting, and running east just for that.
Yep. And Megawatt is going for Icebreaker and has flipped the switch, so may opt to maybe skip some of the more out of the way checks like Ice Tea Room, but we'll see. Having a little bit of trouble with it. I think that looks good. There we go. And for chat, it's unlikely they're going to gamble TR when they know that the Ice Rod is up on Lumberjack. So Boots checks before TR make a lot of sense.
Yeah, even if you wanted to gamble Fire Rod in TR, you would at least get the Ice Rod first, just in case you happen to be right.
Yeah. And Daaanty takes care of Argus. And is going to run over to Ice Palace. Hey, there's half magic. I don't know if Megawatt's gonna get that. It's a nice item to have, but honestly at this point just a safety, so.
Yeah, and with Daaanty having bought potions, can't imagine he's going to even bother to stop and do checks at this point.
Exactly. Yeah, not even checking the Pen Gator room, so that kind of shows Daanty's mindset right there. For chat, both owners have full cleared pod already, so they do have the big key. We'll just be able to go to the back and beat the boss. As Megawatt finishes off Ice Palace. Alright, where are you headed next, Megawatt? Zora, maybe? No? Gonna use this warp to head somewhere else? Daaanty is going to pick up that half magic. Ah, that's a nice convenient warp there. Quick way to get to Lumberjack in the boots checks. Megawott will go back for King's Tomb, right? Not just gonna leave that behind, right?
I would hope so, but it is worth noting, I'm sure he's probably pretty worried about the seed right now after that hard last location of both gloves. So might be feeling a little behind and figuring skipping King's Tomb does save you a minute.
He's floating away. Oh no. Oh, did get missed. It's telling, the seed's telling you to go King's Tomb, but no, it looks like it's gonna be TR. That's not great for Megawott. I mean, I understand it after last locationing with the gloves. Gotta feel like you gotta do something big. Is this TR though? Because if you're going to TR, you don't think you go this way, do you?
I don't think he's done, did he do Spike Cave?
No, he hasn't. He's doing Spike Cave first.
And to answer the question, King's Tomb has Ether, which is what you need for Mire, and then Fire Rod is in Mire. So basically, Megawott needs to go to King's Tomb before he'll be able to get any other new progression.
Maybe Megawatt's gonna go finish off Pod. It's a completable dungeon and some time to think, honestly. Or Catfish. What's the point of even guessing? Looks like they're gonna do King's Tomb from this side instead. So we'll get that Ether Medallion.
Yeah, maybe the thought is if you do it from this side and King's Tomb doesn't pay off, which we know it will, you could easily get to Catfish.
That makes sense. There's Ether, so let's see what Megawott decides to do. Does he beeline it for Mire, or no, gonna stick here with Catfish?
Which, I mean, in terms of optimizing your checks, definitely makes defensible sense here, because otherwise Catfish is so far out you'll never get back to it. And there's one check there versus two in Mire.
Well, they also have Zora, because neither of our runners have checked that. So 2 here at Catfish and Zora, and 2 in Mire, so it's pretty even.
Yeah, especially since, you know, if it was here and you had to go to Mire, you still have to go to Mire, but you could go mode it and maybe, if you're lucky, be able to skip cutscene chest.
Yep. Catfish is having 50 rupees though, as Daaanty goes to town on Helmasaur's helmet. And off comes the mask. A few swipes at the jewel on his head, and down goes Helmasaur. So, just TR away from GT now.
Yep, and it is worth noting if you joined us late, as shown on the tracker, both our runners did have to do Castle Tower early, so even though it's all dungeons, basically it's going to be almost like the end of a normal seed where you go TR to Ganon's Tower straight to Ganon.
That it is, and Megawatt is fluting away here, so let's see where he goes. Fluting to 5, so gonna go finish off Pod.
Meanwhile, while Daaanty makes his climb up the mountain, just a quick refresher for those of us who joined us late. This is the Season 2 of the ALTTPR League playoffs. This is between the Titans Mets, represented by Daaanty, who, as you can tell, has a nice lead here, against the Vendrana Drifters, represented by Megawatt. Drifters currently have a 2-1 lead in the series. This is best of 5. So if Daaanty manages to finish off his lead here, then they will go to a Game 5, which I'm not sure if it's scheduled yet or not. I'll look that up. My name is Arusta, and my co-commentator today is Antisim. Also, shout-outs to our tracker, 14681, who's doing a good job, and thanks everybody for watching here on SpeedGaming Prime.
Yep,
also, definitely give our runners a follow, because Daaanty and Megawatt are both excellent length pass runners, and both definitely solid guys.
Yeah, and it's also been pretty awesome commentating with you.
Well, thank you. It's been great commentating with you as well.
Cool. Alright, and Daaanty is heading into our final dungeon, final non-boss dungeon of the seed. And a go mode TR isn't always much faster than a regular TR, so this will be a good 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, and Sailor Nep, who's one of Daaanty's teammates, informing us in chat that she has not scheduled their next match yet for their Game 5, if required.
And there's the big key, so we will get to conveniently skip that big key chest, the lava chest TR today.
Yeah, and while you wouldn't skip the checks as you go along, it is worth noting that Daaanty already has 2 small keys, so it's entirely possible that might be able to skip Laser Bridge entirely.
That would be very nice. Getting a little trolled by the change jobs there, as they decide to eat some of the Samaria blocks, and we can now guarantee that we can skip Laser Bridge. A lot of keys up front in TR today.
Yeah, and at this point, it seems like Megawatt is very likely to go to Meyer because it's a completable crystal, it's 2 items, and I don't think he really has a whole lot left at this point.
May choose to go get the sword from, no, can't. Misery Mire. So we'll have to do Misery Mire before Pyramid Fairy anyways. And it looks like that's exactly what it is. Daaanty is gonna choose to take this route. I know a lot of runners, when they already have 2 keys, decide to skip the big chest, but Daanty's gonna go for it. Maybe hoping to find silvers or something in here. But just a key. Just a compass.
Very smart play by Daaanty there, pulling out that blue cane real quick before getting flattened by the roller.
Yep.
To answer a question in chat there, standard dungeon items means that all the keys, the maps, the compasses, the big keys are in the same dungeons they are in normally. So unlike Key Sanity, where you could find a key, you know, just sitting out for random dungeons, it's basically the same, so all the same as you would in normal. So there's 6 keys in pod, there's a map and a compass in every dungeon, etc.
Yeah, Randomizer always adding new modes, so makes it a little bit easier depending on. And looks like Megawott is trying to set up Spooky with the ice rod. Not 100% sure if they got it or not. And Daanty's making quick work of Trinex here.
And so it's time for the Ganon's Tower Big Key Guessing Game, if someone can start it up in chat. Essentially, there's 22 locations where Ganon's Tower Big Key can be. Enter a number between 1 and 22. If you get it right, we will give you some nice internet points, and we'll shout you out in chat as well.
I always like to guess 14. What do you like to guess?
I just like to go with lucky number 7, which, depending on how you work it out, is either the end of the stealth or the Stalfos room, or potentially the torch if you do full right first.
Yep. All right, and get your guesses in quick because we're almost already in GT. And in we go. So it'll be 24 internet points to whoever wins this race. It's 2. We already have it. That was quick. That's how the seed has been, though. At least for Daaanty. And the small key on the torch. Congratulations to Arden Monk, who has won our GT Big Key Guessing Game and gotten 24 points. And also congratulations to Skava 21, who also guessed 2 and will get 5 points. So up the tower we go. And Daanty's making quick work of the gauntlet.
Yeah, meanwhile, Megawatt about to get the fire rod, the bad news about the fire rod here.
As Daaanty finishes off Landmo's 2. And there's that fire rod for Megawatt.
So at 1 hour, 30 minutes exactly, Megawatt is in go mode.
Daaanty gets a little trolled by those moblins on the bridge there, but gets through it. And it's just gonna hover the gap after. Oh! Falls on the Moldworm 2. Let's see if he goes for another hover, or we'll just opt to kill Moldworm 2 here. Nah, I'm just gonna kill him now. And gets him down.
To answer a couple questions in chat, we will be cutting stream pretty much shortly after the restream finishes. Hopefully we should have time for at least a couple quick interviews, because the next match doesn't start till 10 p.m. Eastern, so about 15 minutes from now. The Game 5 between these teams has not yet been scheduled.
And Daaanty and Aga 2, not getting the most friendly patterns, but that was a nice one right there. Got a double off of it. And down goes Aga 2. Just have to go kill a pig now.
Yep, meanwhile, Megawatt making short work of Mothula there. Gonna mirror and pick up his last sword, and then go straight up to Turtle Rock and then GT.
And Daanty's in a good position for some 1-on-1s here. Gonna opt to pull out that cape and just dash through. Get in here.
Yeah, it is worth noting, I believe Daaanty does have a blue potion as well, so does have some safeties here.
And through phase 3 is Daaanty. Gets torch glitch, so that'll make this quite a bit easier.
Yeah, and Ganon did tell us arrows were in Turtle Rock, which makes sense because we've seen almost all the other checks outside of Ganon's tower. And with the key layout, Daaanty was able to skip a huge amount of Turtle Rock.
That was probably on Laser Bridge. setting up some. There we go. That is the big pick.
So GG's to Daaanty, who finishes with an official SRL time of 1:35.21. And for whatever it's worth, Joe Buster says that Daaanty improved their personal best by several minutes. So big congratulations on that.
Welcome, Daaanty, to the commentary restream. GG on the seed.
Yo, thanks, GG.
So got to ask, the big difference here in the seed, if you see where Megawatt is, Megawatt just forfeited on restream, was that you made an early play to pod for both gloves and then up the mountain. What were your thoughts on that?
Really wanted to follow the hook flipper combo, because usually that means something's in West Dark World. I had the bow. I was thinking about, like, you know, this would be bad to sequence break pod, but I had the bow, so I thought, okay, I don't have to worry about mimic clipping and wasting time with that. I can just clear pod, and it'll be, you know, off my mind. And I've been burned by pod in this type of scenario before, so I just thought, you know, I'll go to pod and see what happens. And then when both gloves showed up, I was like, this is more than what I knew what to do with. So I figured maybe I could go up the mountain, maybe get the TR intel, and then everything kind of steamrolled from there.
Yeah, it turned out to be a very, very god route there on that.
I didn't feel really good about the Mire dive. I was gonna... I had, like, what, Master Sword at that point because of the Smith Chain, and then I figured I had Cape, so I could kind of spam Sword on Vitreous, and it shouldn't be too hard of a fight. I really wanted to do Swamp after Purple Chest, but my thought was, well, it's faster, you know, the Argus fight's faster with Tempered, and I can get over to Desert, get the last Pendant, and if if Fire Rod doesn't show up in Desert or Mire, I can, you know, do Swamp at that point, maybe save a little bit of time. It may have been a wash, but, if Fire Rod didn't show up where it did.
Yeah, and we are also joined here by Megawatt, GG's Megawatt.
GG's Daaanty.
Oh, GG.
So the question we asked Daaanty when he joined, so basically the biggest difference in this seed is right when you're both synced up when you went through AGA 1, and then Daaanty went to pod first, which got both gloves, whereas you went to West Dark World first. What were your thoughts there? Were you just decided to chase the item density, or?
Well, it was already looking like a lot like it was going to be an AGA seed about 10 to 12 minutes in. So I opted to go ahead and go back to Kakariko looking for the Cape, hoping that I could just combo Eastern Palace and Palace of Darkness together after coming out of Aghanim, since I just picked up my mirror. But then the Cape was in Eastern Palace, which meant that I was over there clearing Eastern Palace, and then after Aga, all I had left to me was a hammerless pod, and I wasn't too attracted to that play, so I just opted to go for the loop instead. And got nothing for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing about this seed. Both Kakariko and pretty much the entire West Dark World loop were useless.
Yeah,
Definitely not something you see very often.
good seed. Good seed. I'm only a little salty. I'm only a little bit salty.
Also gotta ask about that first swamp dip.
That was a bit of a desperate thing. Like, obviously, I'd spent the entire loop around West Dark World hoping to get something clearing just about everything I could get my hands on, and towards the end of it, it was just Hype Cave, front of Swamp, and then over to Adina's Cave, so I just didn't want that play to come up completely empty, so I was absolutely willing to die front of Swamp at that point.
Daha.
Yeah, so how you guys feeling about the scheduled game 5?
I mean, I trust my teammates, so we've had a really awesome series, and last year Vendrana and Titans Mints had an amazing series as well, so I'm looking forward to sitting back, and watching Nep and whoever plays from Fendrana duke it out, and then we'll see where things lie after that.
Yeah, definitely. These have all been fantastic games to watch. If anybody's in chat who hasn't seen all the games of this series, definitely look it up. The ALTTPR League website lists off where they were. If you track down the schedule, definitely go back and watch all these, because all these have been fantastic games, just top tier runners. Do either of you have any final thoughts?
Thanks for the restream, commentary, tracking, all that. I know we got to get off of the channel, like you guys were saying, but thanks for all the volunteers and everything. I appreciate it. Not just as a player, but also as a mod, too, so...
Absolutely. Well, again, GG's to Daaanty for the win. Thank you to Megawatt as well for both providing a very interesting and fun race to commentate. My name has been Arusta. My co-commentator is Antisim. Shoutouts to our tracker, Star14681. Thank you, everybody, for watching here on SpeedGaming Prime. I believe the only other match that is currently scheduled for today is actually going on at this exact time. However, we've got a bunch scheduled for tomorrow. We'll have a Game 5 in this series as well, either tomorrow or Sunday. So definitely keep an eye out on the ALTTPR League website. In about 10 minutes or so, we'll be transitioning into a Final Fantasy 1 randomizer. So if anybody hasn't seen that, FF1 randomizer is definitely an interesting thing to watch as well. So definitely stick around.